Thank you for joining us for this week's message at Crosswind Church. In this brand new series called Balance, Jeremy discusses how we can become more like Jesus in the tensions of life. If you have any questions about this message or about Crosswind Church, please visit our website at www.crosswindchurch.net or email us at info@crosswindchurch.net.
Grab a seat, grab your Bibles. As you grab your Bibles, I'm going to tell you a little story. Back before Jody and I had kids, back when we enjoyed things like going out to eat without kids, we didn't have a whole lot of opportunity to do that. We were still in seminary, and so we didn't have a whole lot of going out to eat. Going out to eat somewhere other than Taco Bell was like a big deal for us back then. And so I can remember one particular night, we decided, a couple of our seminary buddies, a guy by the name of Clark and Wendy Fraley, his wife, he's now a pastor at a church in Oklahoma, doing well out there, but Clark and Wendy and Jody and I, we went to go eat at a TGI Fridays, and went and enjoyed that meal as good as TGI Fridays could be, and as we were leaving the restaurant that night, for some reason, I don't really remember all the circumstances, but our wives got ahead of us a little bit. They were out towards the car, and Clark and I were kind of bringing up the rear. We were kind of walking out the back of the restaurant there, and we were approached by a guy there at the door of the restaurant. He looked like he hadn't shaved in a little while. Wasn't very upkept. He was unkempt, right? That's the word I'm looking for. And he came up to us and he said, "Hey, I wonder if you guys could help us out. Help me out." And so Clark and I were seminary students, so we're like supposed to be holy and stuff. So we were like, "Well, sure, man, what's going on?" And so he said, "Well, the story is my son was involved in a car accident just a couple days ago, and we live about an hour west of town, in a little town out there, and they brought him into this hospital. It's called Harris Methodist Southwest Hospital. It was about 2 miles from the restaurant we were at, and he's down there, and I'm coming in to see him. He's going to have surgery tomorrow." And as I pulled into town here in Fort Worth, my car ran out of gas. And literally, I'm on the road, the hospital's on, but I'm completely out of gas. And wondered if you could, spare $5 or $10 for me to be able to get to the hospital to be with my son. It was a very compelling story. And so Clark and I looked at each other, and I kind of looked at him, and he looked at me, because we didn't want to be, out holy another seminary student. And so Clark took the lead for whatever reason, and he said, "Hey, here's the deal, man. Like, there's a restaurant right here. I mean, a gas station right here. Like, we can walk to the gas station. I can see it. It's right there. Why don't you bring your car there, just put your car in, and we won't just give you $5 or $10 for gas. We'll fill your tank up with gas." The guy said, "I don't know. See, my car, it's down the other end of the shopping center. If you've ever been to Texas, that was like a mile away. Like, shopping centers are huge. Everything's big in Texas. It's like a mile down there, and I just kind of walk down here, and it just take forever." And Clark's like, No, we'll wait. We'll do it. He's like, "No, I really, if you could just spare $5 or $10, And Clark's like, "I don't think you understand. We want to put gas in your car. We want to make sure that not only can you get to the hospital, but as you get home tomorrow, like, we'll take care of it." And finally he said, "I'll tell you what, guys, thanks. If it comes down to it and y'all are still around, I'll come and ask, but I'm just going to go ask some of these other people to see if they have some money to spare." Clark and I kind of looked at each other and went, "Well, we tried to help. We didn't have any cash on us because we just didn't have any cash." And so we went on and got in the car and went on our way. About a year later, it was the same time of year, I remember. So about a year later, I was at that gas station, that one that you can see from TGI Fridays. I was there, and I was pumping gas, and this guy walks up to me. And if you've known me, I'm not real good with faces and names. It's a horrible trait for a pastor, but it's just one of those things I kind of struggle with. And so he kind of looks familiar. He's got kind of this scruffy beard, and he says, "Hey, man, I was wondering if you could help me out." And I said, "Well, sure, what's going on?" And he said, "Well, my son was involved in a car accident a couple days ago. We live about an hour to the west of here, and they moved him to Harris Methodist Southwest Hospital, and I just, I ran, got my car, ran out of gas, and all that kind of stuff." I looked at him and said, "Do you remember me?" He said, "No." And I said, "Yeah, I remember about a year ago. You told me the exact same story. And if you'll bring your car here, I'll fill it up with gas, but I don't have $5 or $10. I hate situations like that, where you're approached by somebody and they're in need, and you don't really know whether or not you should help, and you want to help, but you don't really know if it's just a story that they're telling you to kind of put on or to try to get some money or whatever, or if they're really somebody that's kind of in need. I don't know if you've experienced that. I'm sure you probably have. You're leaving Walmart and there's somebody standing outside with a sign that says we're hungry or we need help, or you're at the gas station and somebody comes up to you, or you're in a restaurant and somebody comes up to you. Maybe you've been at church before and somebody's come up and said, hey, I really need some help and I really need some money and the power bill needs to be paid or the rent needs to be paid or whatever, fill in the blank there. And as Christians, there's this kind of inner turmoil that we kind of enter into, because we have all kinds of passages in Scripture that kind of address this type of thing, like 1 John chapter 3, verse 17. We'll put it up on the screen so I can read it to you. 1 John, it says, but if anyone in this world has this world's goods and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart against him, how does the love of God abide in him? And so what John says to us is, hey, look, as Christians, when we have extra, we ought not assume that it's for us. We have extra. We ought to think that maybe God's given us that extra so that we can help invest in the lives of someone else. We can help somebody else kind of along. And we read that as Christians, okay, well, that means that no matter what the cause, no matter what the case, no matter what's going on, I need to help somebody that's in need. Well, then we get this other passage, or other passages of Scripture that deal with this, like Paul's letter to the church in Thessalonica, 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verses 10 through 12. It says this, for even when we were among you, we would give you this command. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. Verse 11. For we hear that some among you walk in idleness, not busy at work, but busy bodies. Verse 12. Now such persons we command and encourage in the Lord Jesus Christ to do their work quietly and to earn their own living. And so we go, okay, well, we have this situation, we have a brother that's in need, we should help him, right? We have those kind of passages. And then we got this passage from Paul where he says, hey, if you don't work, you don't eat. And so it seems like there's this tension that Scripture kind of brings up. And as Christians, that turmoil that we have inside of us is one of those that ultimately we, just like every other tension, want to resolve in our own lives. See, remember last week we started this great new series called Balance, living in the tensions of life and becoming more like Jesus in the tensions of life. And what we said last week was very simple. It was this, that we believe that the Bible routinely calls us into tensions. And our natural kind of default position is to try to resolve that tension in one way or the other. But for this premise of the series, we're saying, what if the issue is not to be resolved? What if the tension is not to be resolved? What if the Bible calls us into these tensions? Tensions like, how do we live in the fullness of both grace and truth? Okay? But tensions like how do we give and help people, but at the same time not hurt them by helping them? How do we deal with God's sovereign choice of us before the foundation of the world for salvation in Him, and man's free will to choose and reject the grace of God? How do we live in those tensions? And what if God calls us into those tensions? Because in the tensions, we become more like Jesus. It's in the tensions that we kind of learn a little bit of what it is like to walk as Jesus walked. Because like I said last week, Jesus was a walking tension. Right? He was the fullness of God and the fullness of man in one body. He was the fullness of grace and the fullness of truth in one person. So we're going to evolve, and what we're going to kind of talk about over the next few weeks is we're going to kind of dive into this idea of what are these tensions in Scripture. And we said last week, for those of you that missed it, I just want to tell you, what we said last week was, for some of you, this is going to be an incredibly liberating series. Meaning that we're going to raise this tension, and we're going to tell you that there's no resolution to tension. You're going to go, I don't have to figure it out. But for others of you, we're going to raise this tension and ask you to walk in it and tell you it can't be resolved, and you're wired like I am. And you're going to go, because you want it all in a nice little box. But what we're going to do is we're going to raise the tension, ask you to walk in it, and tell you to have a good week. Because we think that is the tension you become more like Jesus. Today we're going to look at this tension of how to help people without actually hurting them. How to help those who are really in need. And we're going to take a look at a letter that Paul wrote. A man named Paul who wrote over half the New Testament. He wrote a letter to a young man by the name of Timothy, who was leading a church in a city called Ephesus. And Timothy was kind of Paul's Padawan, if you will, his young apprentice. He was the one that Paul had kind of brought up in the faith and then placed in charge over his church. And he writes to him this letter, and he deals with one specific group of people that's found in need in the ancient Near East. And we're going to take the principles in this text and see if we can apply them to this tension. 1 Timothy is the letter that is written, and we're going to be in chapter 5, and we're going to begin reading in verse 3. This is what Paul says to Timothy. Verse 3, honor widows who are truly widows. Now, if you read this, you might chuckle a little bit. We'll get to that in just a minute. But let's talk about widows. See, widows were one of the people in society in ancient Near East that were in the most need. So the husband, or the head of their house, had passed away, and she was left all by herself. In the ancient Near East, women had very little rights. In a lot of cases, they couldn't own land. In a lot of cases, they couldn't just go out and get a job. In a lot of cases, they couldn't take care of themselves and provide for themselves. And so in some cases, in extreme cases, widows who were in need actually had to give themselves up to prostitution just to kind of make ends meet, just to kind of provide for their daily living and their daily kind of needs. They were a type of person in the ancient Near East that was, as far as rights go, as far as opportunities go, were kind of on the low rung of the ladder. There was not much they could do themselves. And so what Paul says here is honor them. Honor them. And we can kind of insert a little word, let me give you a little definition of honor. Hey, let's meet their needs, we're going to find out later. Let's make sure that their needs are met, because there's no other way their needs to be met unless we do it. All right? We should meet the needs of widows. Then he follows up. He says this: who are truly widows? Now, when I read this, I kind of snicker just a little bit, because I feel like this should be kind of an easy test. Either you're a widow or you're not, right? Like, I don't know how can someone be a widow but not truly a widow? How can that do? And what does it mean to kind of meet their needs? What does it mean to kind of meet the needs of? Now, let's flesh that out for just a minute, because what Paul is going to get at is honor them to meet their needs. He's talking about meeting their daily requirements for life. And the problem that we have with that today in our society is that we live in such an affluent society that we have equated needs with wants, and wants with needs. And it's very difficult sometimes for us to draw the line. Let me see if I can help us understand this. I have been transformed in my life, and I know that I lose a man card for this, and it's okay. But my wife has a love of shoes that has now branched over into my life, and I have more shoes than I absolutely need. Right? I have brown shoes and I have black shoes. I have 4 pairs of Chuck Taylors. I have no human being, no male human being should step on a stage anywhere wearing red shoes. And they're red, not pink. Okay? Like I have white shoes, and I have black shoes, and I have blue shoes, and I have gray shoes, and I have all kinds of shoes. I have so many shoes that my wife bought me a shoe organizer so I could put my shoes in them. I have to go out in the yard and mess in the shoes, and I have nice tennis shoes, and I just have so many shoes. But can I tell you, you need a pair of shoes. I do not need 15 pairs of shoes. You with me? You with me? Let me tell you where this first kind of came to my mind. When I went on my first mission trip to Germany, we were instructed, as we were going, a bunch of college students, we were instructed to pack everything that we needed in the smallest rolling bag, one that you can actually carry on to the plane, you know what I'm talking about? And everything for 2 weeks was to go in that bag. And we as college students, we complained, I can't believe this. That means I'm going to have to wear, we knew this, you're going to have to wear shirts again, you're going to have to wear pants again, you may have to turn the underwear inside out, whatever it is you have to do. This is all the clothes that you can have for 2 weeks in this little bag. And we complained, and we shoved stuff in our backpacks and in our pockets, whatever it was, because we just were convinced we were going to have more clothes than we needed. And when we got to Germany, in what was the former eastern part of Germany, the former communist side, we stayed in host homes. And I stayed with a single guy in his apartment. His name was Kai, K-A-I, cool guy. And I stayed with him, and his apartment was very simple. It was a bathroom, a kitchen, a living space, and a bedroom. That was it. And the bathroom was down the hall. Okay, not even he shared it with other people in the hallway, which was a little bit weird. Okay, so as we're getting there, I roll in my roller bag. He gives me his bedroom for the week that we're there, and I noticed one day Kai went into the bedroom, and he had just this simple wardrobe in there, and he opened it up, and in this little wardrobe were like, literally, I'm not making stuff, like 5 shirts, a cold pair of pants, and a pair of shoes, and that was it. And then it dawned on me, all of us college students brought more clothes in our little roller bag than the people that we're staying with have total, right? They could have brought their entire wardrobe in their little roller bag. And I thought to myself, you know what? It's such a great privilege to have these things. It's not bad to have a closet full of clothes. It's not bad to have all these shoes. It's not bad to have things that you don't need. But we need to be careful that we don't misconstrue wants and needs. You need to eat, sleep, and live indoors. That's about it. You with me? So when he says meet the needs, it means that we're not trying to make sure these widows are living a lavish lifestyle. We're not trying to make sure that these people have the cell phones and the internet service and all these things that we feel like we have to have, but we really don't. I was sharing this a little brief for a little bit. I was sharing this with my wife. 15 years ago, oh wow, 15 years ago, like you realize I didn't own a cell phone. But today, if you took it from me, I may punch you in the throat. Right? You see how what is needed and what is wanted kind of gets messed up just a little bit? So we're going to meet the needs of these widows who are truly widows. And then he's going to flesh this out just a little bit for us. Let's look in verse 4 and continue on. He says this. But if a widow has children or grandchildren, let them first show godliness to their own household and to make some return to their parents. For this is pleasing in sight of God. She who is truly a widow, left all alone, and has set her hope on God, and continues in supplications and prayers night and day. But she who is self-indulgent is dead even while she lives. Command these things as well, so that they may be without reproach. But if anyone does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. All right, let's talk about that for just a minute. First of all, he says there's kind of these two groups. When we talk about widows and aren't widows, it's not women that haven't lost their husbands. Those were also widows. But there's two categories. There's widows that you need to help, and there's widows that you don't need to help. And as he starts talking, he describes this woman as someone who has family. See, she has children, she has grandchildren, she has brothers, sisters, whatever that is. There are other people that are kind of gathered around her already. And what Paul says is if there is a widow who has other means to receive support, other people that could be and should be helping her, then what you need to do is let their family step in and take care of her. That's their responsibility. Now that may sound a little bit harsh, just kind of on the surface of it. We'll talk about that in just a minute when we get to another verse on exactly what he's meaning here. He said, but there are women who don't have any other support, who don't have any other people who can come along, no children, no grandchildren, nobody else that can help take care of them. Those are the ones that we need to take care of. But those who have another way of supporting themselves, then what we need to do is we need to let their family take care of them. And he uses this verse that is a challenge to every single one of us. He says this, if you are a believer, and you don't take care of your family, especially the people that are living in your household, Paul's words, not mine, you're worse than an unbeliever. That's pretty harsh, isn't it? Now, make sure that we understand. Because we all have folks in our family that are just manipulating the system, right? We know what we're talking about? We all have people in their family that wouldn't fall into the category of someone who's helpless and hopeless. Those aren't the people Paul's talking about. We're going to see why in just a minute. He's going to explain in just a minute. But he's saying that we have a primary responsibility, you have a primary responsibility to take care of your family members who are in need. In just a little while, he's going to tell us why. I'm going to go ahead and give you a preview. The very last verse we're going to look at today, he says, so that the church will not be, his words, not mine, so the church will not be burdened by those people. Let me tell you what he's getting at here. Not that people that are in need are a burden, but the church has limited resources. The church in the first century has limited resources. Our church has limited resources. We would like to help people who are in need. The problem is that when there are people that come and ask for help who are manipulating systems, who are abusing systems, who have other means of support, who have family that are not taking care of them, or a family who are not pulling their own weight, or whatever it is, when we help those individuals, then that takes resources, financial resources, time resources, people resources, away from those people who really, really, really need help. So when the person that really needs help comes, the church has been so burdened by an abuse of a benevolent system. Now we really can't help those people who are really in need. And so what Paul says is this, look, you need to understand, if there's family, that's family's responsibility. He goes on, he's going to tell us a little bit about this. He says this, verse 9. He says, let a widow be enrolled if she is not less than 60 years of age, having been the wife of one husband, and having a reputation for good works if she was brought up children and shown hospitality, and washed the feet of the saints, and cared for the afflicted, and has devoted herself to every good work. Now, the thing that we want to do, or I'm maybe projecting on you just a little bit, the thing that I want to do when I read that is I want to create a checklist. Right? And I want to sit down with people who ask for help, and I go, have you washed the feet of the saints? No, I haven't. Okay, I'm sorry, that's not on there. You can't get enrolled. You with me? The issue for us here today is not what the list is. I think it's counterproductive for us to kind of say, let's create a list, a checklist of things, and make sure that they've done everything on the list. The thing I want you to understand is this. There were people that Paul says we should help, and there were people that Paul said we shouldn't help. And by the way, this isn't a church thing, this is a Jesus thing. I can remember in Haiti, when I was pastoring there, I had a gentleman drive an hour to come to my church and ask for help with a power bill. He didn't even live in the same county that our church was in. He passed, no lie, 35 other churches to get to our church. And when I said, sir, I'm sorry, you just live too far away, we're trying to help folks in our community, and you need to go to a church in your community, he said this to me. He said, well, listen, Jesus helped everybody. And I can't believe that you won't help me because Jesus helped everybody. And my response to him was, sir, you should really read your Bible. Because Jesus didn't help everybody. There were people that Jesus healed, but he didn't heal every sick person in Palestine. There were people that Jesus helped, but he didn't help everyone that was in need. You know how we know that? It's because when the apostles are running around, starting the church in the first century Jerusalem, there's still people that are in need. You know what Jesus would say to his disciples? You're always going to have the poor among you. Right? There were times when it was appropriate, times when it wasn't appropriate, and that's the mind of Christ that we have to kind of cultivate. And so what Paul says is this. Listen, there are women who have earned the right. There are women who have no other means of support, and they've been faithful, and they're seeking God with what it is that they're doing, and those are the ones that you want to help. Let me tell you, if I can kind of explain this from how I understand it. I love my grandmother. I hope you guys, if you haven't met her, I hope you get a chance to meet her. She lives up in Hoptown. Her name is Mama. That's what I call her. For those of you that have a weird name that you call your grandmama, own that, right? I used to get a little embarrassed about that. She's my mama, and you can get over it, right? Now, here's the thing about Mama. Mama spent a lot of time kind of raising me to some degree. I spent a lot of time at her house with her and my grandpa. He's the one that taught me how to play baseball, and she cooked for me all kinds of stuff that I wanted to eat, and she played games with me. She taught me how to play rummy, and she told me when I got to be an adult, she used to let me win in rummy, and I think she was lying to this day. I think she didn't let me win. I think I was that good at rummy. But listen, I love my mama. Now, here's the thing about my mama. I would tell her this if she was sitting right here. She's crazy. In fact, I tell her this all the time. She is laugh, but she's a little bit crazy, right? My mom is crazy because I know because your mom's crazy too. It's okay. But here's the thing. If my mom says, Jeremy, I want you to do X, or Jeremy, I need help with X, you know what I do? I do it. You know why? Because she's earned that right. When I tell my mom, and I tell my cousins, and I tell anybody who listens, is listen, my mom's crazy, but she's earned the right to be crazy. Whatever she needs, whatever she wants, I'm going to do everything I can to help her take care of her. Because she's earned that. This is what Paul is trying to say. Look. There are men and women among you who have no other means of support. And they've been faithful. And they've done the things that Christ has called them to do, and they've sought Him with their life. And listen, what you need to do is you need to find those people, and you need to love on them. And if they're crazy, they've earned the right. And if they need a little bit of help, they've earned the right. This is what Paul's getting at in this passage. There are women among you. You know who they are. They've washed the feet of the saints. They've served the church, and they've served you. In our context, in our context, they rocked you when you were in the nursery, the church. They taught you Bible drill. They led your RAs and your GAs. They were the ones that were up here cleaning before and after and setting up chairs. These were the people that were involved and engaged in doing the work of Christ all over the world. And now that they've gotten a little bit older and they can't do what they used to be able to do, and they have no other means of support, what Jesus says, what Paul says is, hey, those individuals, we got to love on them. Because if we don't watch it. We don't. Man, no one will. They have no other recourse. If their family, if they have family, and the family just refuses to take care of them, we as a church have to step in, and we have to do those things that their family ought to be doing. In verse 11, he's going to tell us why this is so important. But refuse. But refuse. Don't do it. Run away from it. But refuse to enroll younger widows. For when their passions draw them away from Christ, they desire to marry, and so incur condemnation for having abandoned their former faith. This is not anti-marriage. Some people have read this and gone, well, it's clear Paul doesn't want people to be married. That's not the case. It isn't anti-marriage. It's anti-breaking a promise. We have to understand contextually what's going on in Ephesus to understand what he's getting at. It appears that on some level, a widow could devote herself, make a pledge to serving God, serving the church, and serving the saints, local brothers and sisters in Christ there in the community. It may be similar, I'm not exactly certain, theologians are kind of divided a little bit, maybe similar to an oath that a nun might take today, where we're going to devote ourselves to God and serving Him. But he says that these younger women, when they desire to remarry, when they desire to go get married, start a family, raise a family, which is things that in them, that's good for them to want to do that. But now, if they've made that promise, if they've been enrolled in this list of widows that we're helping, when they go and they remarry, what they've done is they've broken a promise to God. And that's not good. God doesn't like it when they break promises. So this isn't anti-marriage as much as it is contextually. We want them to keep the promises that they make. So don't allow them to make the promises, is what he's getting at. Because they'll want to abandon their former faith and to go back on that oath. Verse 13. Beside that, they learn to be idlers, going about from house to house, and not only idlers, but also gossips and busybodies, saying what they should not. So I would have younger widows marry, bear children, manage their households, and give the adversary no occasion for slander. For for some have already strayed after Satan. But let's talk about this for just a minute. This is what Paul says. Here's the deal. If you help someone who has other means, in this particular case, who can go and remarry, who can start a family, who can find herself under the umbrella of protection of, in this particular case, a man. This is just the culture in which we're living in. In our culture, we might say if there's someone who's able to work, able to go get a job, there's someone who can provide for themselves, right? Then when you provide for their needs, and they're able to provide for themselves, when you meet their physical needs, then what happens is you don't actually help them, you enable them to live a life of idleness. All right? And when you allow someone to live a life of idleness, it gives our enemy, Satan, a foothold in which to get into their life and to manipulate them to choose after evil things. Let me give you an example. We know this to be true. This is how we know this to be true. I started staying home by myself at about the age of 9 or 10 years old at my house. And I had a key that was under some glass Coke bottles outside the side door of our house, and I would get in the house, and I would stay there for about 2 hours or so until Mom and Dad came home. Now, I was supposed to do homework during that time. I was only supposed to watch cartoons after I did my homework, right? I wasn't supposed to go outside. I wasn't supposed to play back in. You'd probably call the cops on us if we did that today, but that was the way it was a long time ago. So I would come home and I would stay by myself. Now, the thing is that when you're home by yourself as a kid, your mind starts to go places that would never go if you were home by yourself as an adult. You know why? Because that house is filled with a bunch of stuff that you didn't pay for. And so you don't even think about it. So about the age of 10 or so, 11, I was really big into baseball. That was the sport, baseball, because I was too short to play basketball, and I lived in Kentucky, so we didn't even care about football, okay? So that was baseball. That was what I did. And we had these throw pillows on our couch, and I had this little rubber basketball. And so what I would do is I'd set up bases around our living room. First base was my dad's recliner. Second base was the goal post at the stairs coming down. And third base was the corner of the couch over there. I put a pillow there for the base. And I would take that rubber ball, stand in our fireplace, and I would throw that rubber ball up, and I would just beat the mess out of it with that pillow. And that rubber ball would bounce all over our living room. And hit things, and break some things that I then would try to hide, right? And I did all sorts of just things that just didn't make any kind of sense. And why did I do it? I did it because I had all kinds of time and no supervision. All kinds of time and no supervision. Now, if we were to kind of come back and talk about this today, we understand this, right? Because we know what happens when our teenagers have all kinds of time and no supervision. And if we're honest with ourselves, we know what happens when we have all kinds of time and no supervision. Come on, right? If I had my druthers, And I had no supervision. And at all kinds of time, I would either be watching television or asleep. Neither of which things are productive. We can argue about the sleep thing, right? But you see what I'm saying? When we find idle time, we find an exorbitant amount of time where we aren't filled up with stuff to do, then what happens then is we find ourselves kind of being led down pathways that we know we ought not go down. Just ask anyone that's ever had any kind of addiction. Right? When they're most susceptible to their addiction is when they're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. It's when no one else is around. It's when they've got some time. It's the end of the day when things are winding down, and all of a sudden they find themselves going down a pathway that they know they ought not go down because they have a lot of time, no supervision. Paul says you need to be careful because when you provide someone's physical needs, who can physically go and work, and you take that from them, then what you do is you create an opportunity for the enemy to get a foothold in their life by giving them an exorbitant amount of time. Right? Now, let me tell you another example of this. Those that live in the neighborhood, I just want you to picture your neighborhood in your mind, okay? I want you to raise your hand, I want you to shout out your names. Who is your neighborhood informer? You know why you're laughing? It's because we all have one, right? And if you don't know who your neighborhood informer is, it's probably you. Right? The first neighborhood that Jody and I lived in, we rented a little house. The guy that lived next to us was our neighborhood informer. And there were 4 houses on our little cul-de-sac, and he was a retired man, and he didn't work, he didn't have anything to do, and I really think he sat at his front window and looked out his window to see what was going on all day long everywhere else. And one particular night, somebody took a rock and threw it through our guest bedroom window in that house that we lived in, and so that we spent all night putting boards up and making sure that the elements could get in, that kind of stuff, no wild animals, stuff like that. The next day, we were out making that a little more permanent, and our neighbor comes over and he goes, "Oh, it was a wild night in the neighborhood last night." You know that. This is like 2 a.m. Please go to sleep, right? The thing is that when we get a little bit of time, we get a little bit of extra time, we get a little bit of no supervision, what we start to do is we start to notice what's going on in other people's lives, and we start to tell other people about what we've noticed in other people's lives. And what Paul says about these women is he says, when you take away the opportunity to raise a family, to get a job, to earn their own income, to earn their own keep, what you do, you create time. And these women start going from house to house, and they go, "You know what Donna's doing down the street? Our David's doing down the street. And you know what Sarah's doing, and you know what so-and-so's doing, and this is doing." And they become gossips, and they become busybodies. Not Jerry's words, Paul's words. So he says, these women, these widows, we could put it in today's society with these people. We don't need to help those people. In fact, we need to encourage them, in the case of widows, to go remarry, to go raise a family, to go devote yourself to managing your household. If we wanted to move forward and apply that same principle, we would tell these people who can work, let me help you get a job. Let me help you earn your own keep. Let me help you get better. Because ultimately, if I just give you the resources you need, if I just alleviate the physical pain that's there, I'm not really helping you. What I'm doing is I'm creating space in which sin can enter into your life. That isn't helpful to anyone. Verse 16. He says, if any believing woman has relatives who are widows, let her care for them. Let the church not be burdened, so that it may care for those who are truly widows. What it says is this. We need to make sure that when we help somebody, we need to make sure that there's somebody that's really in need. Not just somebody who's looking for some idle time. Not just somebody who's manipulating a system or abusing a system. Because there's times when we actually think we're helping somebody by giving them $5, $10, $20, paying their power bill, when we're not actually helping them. Here's the secret to this. I'm going to give you a couple of things. The World Bank started after World War II. Okay, the World Bank. And the World Bank's goal was to give low-interest loans to corporations, businesses, individuals, particularly in Europe. Because after World War II, Europe was just completely decimated. Major cities like Paris and London had been bombed and had been destroyed, and they needed some help rebuilding the economies in Europe that existed there. So they created the World Bank, and they began to kind of insert money into these cities in Europe. And in France in particular, it worked tremendously. The idea is that to alleviate poverty, to alleviate suffering, we just inject a bunch of money, And what happens then is those individuals take that money, they build their businesses, they build their homes, and they're able to support and provide for themselves following World War II. And the World Bank saw what happened, in particular in developed countries in Europe, and they went, this is wonderful. If this worked in Europe, then it'll work everywhere else. And so they took their giving, and they took their loan giving, and they expanded it to India, and to Africa, and they exposed it to South America, into third world countries where extreme poverty and extreme hunger was kind of taking over and kind of ruining people's lives down there. The problem is that the World Bank being successful in Europe, they thought it would be successful if they did the same thing everywhere else. The problem was it wasn't successful anywhere else. In fact, you can go and read World Bank reports that they've given over the last 50 years, because they're still in existence today, and they talk about how they failed a lot in South America, and they failed miserably in India, because ultimately they felt like that poverty in those places was more than just a physical need. This is so important. Poverty looks the same in India and the third world as it does in the first world. Poverty looks the same in the United States as it does in South America. People who have not enough food, not enough clothes, not enough money, not adequate living facilities. You with me? But although the problem looked the same, the cause of the problem was much different. And what World Bank found out, in fact, the part of the report that really struck to my heart was a report from Ecuador. Because I've been in some very impoverished places in Ecuador. And the report said this: it is the native people of Ecuador, it is their destiny to be impoverished. That's what it said. Because what they found is that we could give them money, that really didn't help. We could provide them the resources, the physical resources. We give them food, we give them money, we give them shelter. That really doesn't help, because their poverty is not just an absence of physical resources, their poverty is mental. Their poverty is psychological. They believe they will always be poor. If you give them money, they don't have the skills to be able to handle it. When you give them the money, the resources, they don't have the skill to be able to manage it. Not only do they lack the skill, but they lack the hope that they one day will be, in fact, better. So the World Bank wasn't able to help those individuals. I like to think of it this way. How many of you have ever had a bad sinus infection? Yeah, we all have, right? And sinus infection comes with a number of symptoms. A lot of times you'll get a really bad headache, you'll get a cough maybe some sore throat, some drainage, postnasal drip, maybe your ears will ache just a little bit. You'll get one of these things when I get a sinus infection, when I move my head like this. Oh, it kills me, right? You know what I'm talking about? Headache and pain, all that kind of stuff. Those symptoms of the sinus infection. You know, we can treat those. We can give you medicine to kind of declog your nose. We can give you antihistamines to kind of help with that. We can give you pain medicine to kind of alleviate the pain that's there. If you have a cough, we can give you a cough suppressant. We can help you sleep at night. We can alleviate all the symptoms of the sinus infection. The problem is, unless we treat the underlying cause of the infection, you're going to still be sick. And those symptoms are just going to come back. Because all we've done is put a Band-Aid on the problem. We haven't actually solved the problem. And you want to go a step farther, it may be that your sinus infection is caused by a virus, in which case we need to treat it one way. If your sinus infection is caused by a bacteria, we need to treat it a different way. And maybe even if you have different bacteria, they respond to different antibiotics in different ways. And to just kind of do a broad spectrum, this is how we treat everybody's sinus infection, no matter what, we would miss the boat. In a lot of cases, we have people that are still sick. Poverty is the same way, folks. Look, it looks the same. I'm hungry. I don't have an adequate place to live. I don't have adequate clothing. And it's very real. Not just in the third world, it's very real in Union City. Do you realize we have a homeless population in Union City that's maybe 150 people large? Did you get that? It's a very real problem. Very real issue. The problem is that we want to solve it the American way. By taking $5 and throwing it at it. Or $10 and throwing it at it. Or creating a program and throwing it at it, right? The problem is that poverty is more than just missing physical needs. Poverty is much deeper than that. In a lot of areas in the country. As a result, there's times that your $10 may not help somebody at all. In fact, it may just enable them. There's times when your help is not something that is going to alleviate their immediate suffering. It's something that's going to raise them up out of that poverty cycle. I want to give you one last verse from Isaiah chapter 53. Because I think this tells us how as Christians we ought to address this tension. Now, y'all aren't going to like this. This is what it says. Isaiah 58 verse 10 says this. If you pour yourself out for the hungry, and satisfy the desire of the afflicted, then shall your light rise in the darkness, and your gloom be as noonday. That first part I love. Pour yourself out for the hungry. Pour yourself out for the hungry. One of the translations I read this week said, if you will spend yourself for the hungry. See, the idea is this. When someone comes to us and they are in need, instead of just shoving money at them or paying their bills so they'll get out of our office, or so that we can go on and go home, or so we can get our own car and kind of go. Instead of just doing that, then why instead don't we sit and go, okay, I'm going to invest in you. If you want help, let me really help you. If you want help, what is it that puts you in this situation? Why is it you are the way you are? And let me take a little bit of time and invest my life, spend myself, not just spend my money, but spend myself in you. And if I do that, then we can actually help solve the problem. Not just me, physically. Here's the tension. There are people in our world who don't want that kind of help. I can remember at every church I've been at, aside from the last few years in Alabama, handling what we call benevolence cases, helping with power bills and that kind of stuff, handling that has been my responsibility. And if I just be honest with you, over time you can become a little bit callous. Because unfortunately you see so many folks who don't really want help. But I can remember the time when it dawned on me and it broke my heart that there were people that really didn't want help. There's a gentleman that came into my office. He was very intimidating. He was much larger than me. And I was the only one in the office at the time. We were living in Texas. He had walked there to our church, and he walked and he sat down. I gave him a bottle of water. He told me the story. He said, Jeremy, here's the thing. I lost my job a few months ago, and about 3 days ago became homeless. And now I'm homeless and I'm on the streets. But I really feel like things are going up. I got like a job I think that I can get. And what I really need is I just need a couple days in a hotel. If your church can just pay for me a couple days in a hotel, then I think I'll be okay, and I'll be able to get my feet back up under me. Well, very early on, I learned that in cases like these, especially people that aren't church members, because we get a lot of folks that aren't church members, especially people that aren't church members that come into my office, we keep records of all of it. In fact, now Crosswind Church is part of something called it's a Keeper. It's an online program where churches share information about that, so that we kind of know who we're helping, and so we can really help these folks. So we kept all this online, and as this gentleman told me the story, I asked him this question. I said, "Sir, can you answer me a question?" He said, "Yes, sir." And I said, "Have you ever been to this church before?" He said, "Oh no, I've never been to this church before." "Oh, really? You haven't?" He said, "No, sir, I haven't." I said, "Well, I want to show you something." And I turned my computer screen where I had the Excel file where we had every name and every date and every story that had been told to us and folks that had come in. And I said, "Here's your name." He used the same name. 6 months ago, you sat at that chair. You told me the exact same story. And a year before that, you came in and you talked to one of my deacons. And you told us the exact same story. And he kind of stood there and did the same thing. And I said, "Now, here's the deal. I need you to be honest with me. How long have you been on the streets?" He said, "I've been on the streets for 2 years." And my heart just broke for this guy. And I said, "Do you have a problem with drugs?" He went, "Yeah, I'm addicted. I can't remember if it was cocaine or meth. It was a pretty serious addiction that he had." And I said to him, "Here's the deal, man. I can help you. Not only can I want you. You look at me right now and say, Jeremy, I want help. I want off the streets. Jeremy, I want to get clean. I said, I can make some phone calls, and I think I can have you in rehab by the end of the day. Right? If you tell me you want help, I'm telling you, I will bust my tail to get you the help that you need, to get you clean off drugs, find you a place to stay, and to help you get a job. That's what I want. Listen, I want to help you, but I need you to tell me, Jeremy, I really want to help you. You've been on the street for 2 years, what you're doing isn't working. Let me help you. But I need you to tell me you want help. He paused for a minute and looked down. I'll never forget it. He looked up at me and went, can you do me a favor? I said, what's that? He said, can you not call the other churches and tell them I'm coming? And I said, buddy, I'm sorry, I can't help you. And I had to watch him walk out of my office. And I tell you, I think about him a lot, and I wonder where he is now. I think about him a lot, and I wonder, oh man, look, what could the body of Christ have done if we could have surrounded this guy? We might could have helped. We might could have helped solve the problem. But just his missing a place to live and missing enough food to eat and his drug, we could not just solve those symptoms. We could actually help this guy be better. And I thought about that, and I don't know where he is now. I don't know if he's alive. But I know he didn't want help. He just wanted out. He didn't want a hand up. But listen, what Paul says is this: as sad as that is, and as hurtful as it is, as a church, as Christians, we need to look at those people and go, come back when you really want help. Here's a bottle of water, but I can't. I only have limited resources, and I've got to pour them into individuals who really, really, really want help. Let me tell you about a couple organizations that do this really, really well here in town. First of all, Helping Hands Ministry, which is over here off of Miles Avenue, over by Eastgate. They're an organization that wants to actually help people overcome poverty, not just empower them to live in it. And so as a result, some of the things that they do are really cool. They have a really neat vetting process where they help you out. There's only a certain number of times that they'll help you out in a given year. And in addition to that, when they help pay somebody's power bill, part of the requirement is we want you to come in and volunteer in our thrift shop. And the reason we want you to do that is because we want you to know that you can work. We want you to know that you can do something. We want you to know that you have value and you have something to offer. And as a result, it doesn't work all the time. It may not even work the majority of the time. But as a result, they're doing their best to see what the problem is and pour themselves out for the impoverished. Not just give them a handout. Another group that I absolutely love is the Bridge Ministry. And they're doing a fundraiser here in a few weeks. And if you need tickets to that, I invite you to come. They're highlighting single moms this year. God loves single moms, raised by a single mom for a little while. I don't know how you guys do it, right? Because there's times Jody leaves me with kids, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so and what they want to do is they want to bring women in who just need a little bit of help. They need a place to stay, and not just give them a place to stay, but they're going to help them manage their money. They're going to help them learn what it means to budget. They're going to help them learn how to go do job interviews. They're going to help them put resumes together. They're going to help them find jobs inside out. Down in Troy's another organization that does a great job with this, taking people who are impoverished, who need a little bit of help, who need to just get a hand up, and putting them to work, rather than just giving them a handout and sending them back to their idle time where Satan can get a foothold in their life. They're saying, look, you have value and you're more than your needs. We want you to realize that you can do all of these things. As Christians, sometimes that's hard, isn't it? Because to pour ourselves out and to spend ourselves for the needy, it's going to take time. It's going to take energy. And it's going to be messy. And by the way, I haven't helped you at all, right? What happens when the guy comes up to you at the gas pump? You don't have time to sit down and ask him a zillion questions, and you want to know, should I give him the $10 or should I not give him $10? And you ready for the answer? Here it is. Maybe. See, here's where I'm just foolish enough to want to rely on God. As followers of Jesus Christ, you have the Holy Spirit inside of you. There's going to be times when people come up to you and they ask you for help, and you don't have time to pour yourself out and invest in their life, and so you have to go, okay, God, is this somebody you want me to help or not? And when you get that, you know what? You just need to help this person. By God, you better do it. But if there's some kind of catch in your spirit, you go, I just don't know. feel right, something's not right, then what you do is you take one of my business cards, or you take one of your business cards, and you go, here's the deal. I can't help you right now, but I need you to call this guy. I need you to talk to me later. I need next, when I have a little bit more time, let's sit down and let's see what we can really, really do. And trust God to bring those people back around. Because there is no clear-cut answer. It's a tension. And we're not called to resolve it just to help everybody. We're not called to resolve it and just help nobody. We're called to walk into that tension, be the hands and feet of Christ, and help solve problems in people's lives by pouring ourselves out for those who are in need. Listen, it's messy. It's unfair. It's not easy. But when we live in this tension,